Appreciate it. All right. So I wanted to get us all together because I know that there is a bunch of businesses over on Martha Street and near the Frankford and York area. And there's a lot of momentum going on over there. There's also, some great space that can be utilized and activated. So I wanted to get us all together to, one, meet each other and make sure that you guys knew who we are and the services that we can provide as the BID and Fishtown Co. And I also wanted to just talk a little bit broader and bigger picture about your little cluster area around the brewery and, think about some longer term ideas of how we can all work together to market that area, activate the space, and just coordinate around maintaining it and making sure that you guys have opportunities to grow your businesses.
We are considered part of the Fishtown BID now.
So
Years ago, I was told we were not.
The BID does not expand over to Martha Street. It stops on the Frankford Ave side, but Fishtown Co., which is the business association branch of the BID, has identified that area as an area of particular interest because we know that there are a lot of newer businesses, active businesses, and it's a great place to draw people to the northern part of our district.
Okay.
All right. So with that, I did, and I know you guys all saw Nancy's email from PBC about their needs and how they utilize the space. I mean, the people on this call are probably even more familiar with PBC's operations than I am, because you guys have been there for forever. But, and I also want to start this off by saying I'm not trying to force anything that doesn't work for all of the businesses that are there. If a street closure doesn't make sense, a street closure doesn't make sense. But there are other great ways that we could still activate the space or, add streetscape improvements, add some greening, those types of things that might draw more business to the area. And I would love to, find other opportunities for Devilfish, especially to bring retail sales outside. And draw some more traffic to his business as well. So with all that, I wanted to just start today, besides introductions, but just talking about the current use of that space. I know that, the roundabout just started construction, and I'm sure that that's made things a little challenging for you guys. So I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to express any concerns or comments about that specifically, especially with the detours and how that's going for you. So feel free to jump in.
I've already had delivery drivers tell me that they were basically not going to give up and not even attempt to deliver anything. So
it's a problem.
It's definitely a problem. And okay. I will be shocked if they actually finish it in the time frame that they're talking about. I don't think that's going to happen at all. Ultimately, I'm a big proponent against it. I think it's causing more of a hassle than I think it's going to improve safety. But that's just me.
And what I know that I haven't been down there this week. I know that the first week that they started construction, there really weren't any detouring signs. Has that changed at all?
They have detour signs.
Yeah, there are detour signs.
Okay.
I think
they don't follow them though. They still go they still go through and then they all make a U-turn, you know what I mean? Once they realize there's like probably a big hole over there.
Or they move them. Or they move the barrier. I've seen several people do that already.
Yeah. It's a mess. It's definitely a mess. You know what I mean? It's definitely a mess all day.
Do you guys have any suggestions as far as something that might remedy that? Like, is it cars coming from a certain direction that are having trouble? Besides like moving the barricades, I mean, we could try to, let the let the construction teams know that that's an issue and try and get in touch with them. But is there anything else that you guys think would help that?
I wonder, Kay, if you could have a sign, like those big orange signs that say like access to Martha Street, use Amber, then Hager, or something like that, just to give these drivers like some idea of how they might be able to make it over there.
That's a great idea.
Or another thought is, do we really, can we have a little delivery access down to York? I mean, I know obviously everyone would end up using that, but it seems like, to your guys' point, that people have been just kind of going right past the barriers and down York anyway. So is that a way to make it? Can we make that can they carve off a little piece just for local access or something? Those are the two thoughts I have.
Okay.
Maybe carve off access to coming from Frankford to York for local access only during construction, or if they can't do that, just have a sign that says Martha, delivery access to Martha Street, use Amber, then Haggard. Those are two. I mean, it's better than nothing because they're just driving around the back blocks trying to figure out how to get on there. So.
Yeah, I can definitely talk to PennDOT and the rest of the streets team that's responsible for the roundabout and express these concerns to them. And hopefully they can add some signage, and if not, we can pressure them to do so. I think that local access might be challenging just because of exactly what you're saying. Everybody's going to try and use it, but it's worth the ask for sure.
Looks like Johnny just hopped on. Hey, Johnny, what's up?
Hi.
Brian had just mentioned he's having trouble getting deliveries on Martha Street because of the roundabout. I'm sure you guys are probably having a bit of a fiasco as well.
Yeah, trash and all that. It's hard to get through.
Yeah, one thought was, hey, can we carve off some kind of delivery access because it's there? It's just not. The closure is just before that. Or at least some signage so they can have a fighting chance of finding a way down there.
And do you guys get your trash picked up by the city, or do you guys have private haulers that you contract with?
We have private haulers, gold medal.
Gold medal.
Private.
Yeah, we do JRs.
Sounds good to me. I feel like maybe as the roundabout progresses, it'll make it easier to get through a little bit. This stage, they're still dumping a lot of rock, and I rode by this morning on the way in, and there was really not access of any kind, but on other days there is. So hopefully it'll settle down. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the hope. That's the hope. And I mean, previously I had heard that it was going to be a 2-month construction process. I mean, like Brian said, I'm skeptical too, to see if they actually stay to that. But we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, I think they're trying to button it up before winter, but you know how that goes.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Anything else that we wanted to talk about specifically about the roundabout, or any other current issues or concerns that you guys are having in the immediate area? All right, cool.
Maybe an update, Kay. I can just speak to what on Frankford Ave, that sort of flat iron looking building. They demoed that recently. And the guy Mahir seems like a pretty good guy. He was going to build a kind of small building on the same footprint over there, but he ended up working to acquire, or he's working on acquiring those 2 vacant lots that were behind that had a bunch of cars parked there and everything. So he's planning to expand that to expand that building footprint to include those 2 lots. So my point being that that sort of Flatiron building will still exist, but it'll be almost twice as long. And I think what was he? He was just going like 3 stories, I think, with it, right? So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then on the other corner, that's under contract as well. A group that has done a bunch of work in Fishtown, nice work. So hopefully it's a good building. That's under contract. So I think the minute that, I mean, hopefully, I don't know if they're trying to break ground like while this roundabout is still under construction or afterwards or whatever. But I mean, on a 1-year horizon, there's a lot happening right there. Oh, and I should say they broke ground on that NKCDC lot right across the street. They broke ground like a month or 2 ago. The mid-block lot.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. Yep. Foundation's in, steel's in. So that's pretty cool. Just as
Do we
far as
know
to
what they're
just,
doing there?
What's that, Mark?
Do we know what they're doing there?
Yeah, that was that guy, Henry and Ryan. I introduced you guys to for the
Oh, okay.
marketing thing. Yeah, well, it's a small commercial space and like 5 or 6 apartments. So they're like any commercial space right now. They are open to ideas, If anybody has some, I feel like it was pretty small, maybe 600, 700 square feet, maybe less even, but they thought a little cafe. I mean, Flow State's closed. Does anybody know, like, are they permanently closed? It says permanently closed.
As far as I know, they abandoned totally. Yeah.
That sucks. There was so much invested in that space too. They had like such a nice setup. Do you know if they're like have other ventures or they're just not coming back?
3 of
Okay.
them have other day jobs that they're doing.
Oh,
One
is
of
that
the-
right?
Into Martha the other night, and I think they're relatively far along finding another tenant for the space.
Okay. Yeah, it seems like it couldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
Do you know the owner over there of the building by any chance?
I don't.
Might be worth, Kay, trying to figure out who it is. Just, you know what? I think that guy Dennis that owns those lots might know him, because I think they have 1 or 2 other buildings on the block. It might be nice just to reach out and say, hey,
Which property are you talking about?
the Flow State building.
Okay.
That might be kind of nice to see if we can help find them a tenant or whatever. This would be obviously through the bid, guys. This is not necessarily the whole reason we're on the call about the Martha Street thing, but
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I'll definitely look into finding their contact information and see what we can dig up.
and then I guess if you don't mind, Kay, real quick, I can just give everybody an update on what the heck I've been up to for the past like 2 years over there.
Yeah.
We're on plan C now, I guess, because obviously we had some ideas, but with COVID, all those ideas kind of freaked out. And so now we're back to, we have a vision. It looks like we're working with a larger restaurant operator that is interested in the brewery space over there. So the old warehouse, they might look to, in the Barrel House, which is the one with the flat roof, they might look to have all of the interior restaurant components in there, and then somehow possibly look to make that peaked roof building some kind of indoor outdoor space, almost like so the roof may not go back on that one. It might be like an open courtyard or something. So I think that's pretty cool. So we're working really diligently to try and get that sorted out, because that's obviously the biggest, vacant piece over there at the moment. And I just got my subdivision approved. We're going to carve off, we have some of that vacant land to the right. So there's going to be a 28 by 86 foot vacant ICMX lot that we can do something with. And then on the very corner, we're combining 2117 and 2119 East York. So that very corner, we're hoping to seek a variance to put a storefront there. Oddly enough, it's RSA 5 zoning. So it's, even though it's right there on that commercial corner, it's a residential zoning still, which is just, it's its own kind of weird because of historically what it was. So we were just trying to do a small storefront on the very corner and with 3 apartments above it. We thought that would really anchor that corner, you know, just right across from Martha, and feel like the sort of like, you know, the gateway, I guess, that York and Martha gateway into the brewery complex. So yeah, that's the update there. Again, been a fiasco, but I think we finally are pretty far along.
What's your timeline looking like for all of that?
I have another probably month to get the subdivision through OPA. And then by June, that's really the bottleneck right now. And the survey district was frankly pretty slow, but once it got to, believe it or not, L&I really went through it quickly. And then we'll see if OPA goes through it quickly or if it's going to be, I don't think I think it'll be pretty quick. So anyway, then finally, when that's all said and done, I can move forward with these other tenants or whatever in June. So what does that look like time-wise? Well, in theory, we can have, well, that corner piece requires a variance. So if everybody here is cool with that concept, I would love some support on the ECNA call. I talked to those guys, John and everybody, and it seems like it makes sense, but you know, until it doesn't, right, on the call. So so hopefully we get some, and it wasn't, you know, we're not proposing like a 10-story building or anything. It's just 3 stories, the same height as the residential, but just the differences were, we just feel like that commercial storefront there would be helpful. Anyway, yeah, so that's sort of, I hope, the future for that whole little section there, which
So you're waiting on to do build out for a specific, once you get a client to rent the space.
yeah, I think we'll probably try to build the shell just so people can see exactly what it's going to be and where, you know, how it lays out and orients. We were thinking of putting a couple overhead doors into the commercial space right on Martha. So, you know, so we can open those doors up and just really try to connect with the street there. And whatever, coffee shop, it would be about 1,325 square feet, I think, the commercial space. So not huge, but big enough for, you know, a nice little shop of some kind. Yeah, so I don't have anyone right now. I reached out to I really like the guys at Ox Coffee. I reached out to them, but them and like every other retailer right now is just like, you know, well, let's see if we, you know, survive the spring and summer here before. So I haven't had a whole heck of a lot of luck. But I also haven't tried that hard reaching out to people. I'd rather just try and get the variance, build the building, and then be able to show someone in real life the space, you know? That was the thought there.
So right now you're looking at another brewery going in there?
No. Oh, the big warehouse, Brian?
Yeah.
No.
I thought you said a restaurant, like.
Yeah, it's like a restaurant, right? I'm sure it's probably beer centric or whatever. But no, it's not actually a brewery. It would just be a restaurant.
Gotcha.
Yep. And then, yeah, because we had originally thought maybe another big brewery that would use that whole square footage as somewhat of a production space in the big building, and then a tap room in the smaller side. But at the end of the day, I also think it's pretty interesting to use the smaller space as the restaurant and the other space as like a big open air thing. So we'll see. I'll know more in June whether that's going to happen or not, or in what way it's going to happen. I should say something's happening there. And then I'd be open to suggestions or ideas or whatever on the little lot next to it. Johnny, I thought maybe something with Matt there, pull a truck there and do like a whole hog roast every so, I don't know. You know, me and Adam are just trying to get something going there. we tried to last year do a little bit of a beer garden pop-up thing, but you know, it was just the timing wasn't right. But I think we're getting closer.
Yeah, I think that'd be really good for Matt to have a little dining room, you know, type
Yeah,
of thing.
something like that. So I'd like to talk to him. But again, the bottleneck is this subdivision. I literally can't do anything until that's processed. And we're close, but it's just not quite there yet. So that's kind of my update on where things stand. It's been a long road, but we're, you know, I think we're coming out of the weeds more or less.
Yeah. That's all very exciting. I love the idea of the open air kind of connecting indoor and outdoor. I think that really works for, you know, drawing a lot of pedestrians into the space as well.
Yeah, if they can pull that off, it'd be awesome. And those doors are huge. So again, I'm, you know, assuming they'd keep the doors open, or I would think, and those windows, it helps with that connection, you know? So all the big spaces can connect to the street in some way, at least visually, just so when you walk down it, you can see inside places now, hopefully a little more than now. You just see boards and a lot of boards and, well, there's some gates too on those windows. I don't know if they're going to take those down, but anyway, I'll know more in June.
So switching gears a little bit, Randy, do you mind letting me share my screen?
You can already do that.
Oh, lovely. So I wanted to, Josh also shared with me some branding tools that they've been discussing. Josh, do you want to introduce these?
Yeah, this is right. So this is I'll give you just the backstory. When we were trying to figure out what to do with that brewery building, I put it out to Kim Lincoln from Links and Company. I was like, Kim, this seems like it can be a real destination besides just the individual buildings. And so like, what does that look like? You know what I mean? To have, to kind of brand the brewery complex. And I set her loose on some conceptual images and ideas. And again, this has been on the back burner for like over a year now, and then I think now is the right time to get everyone together and say, hey, we're all part of this larger site and we can brand it and have it our own identity at the site. And then we have our businesses within the site. So that's what was most interesting to me. So again, this is just purely conceptual, everybody. This is just, some things she was playing around with. But the two you'll see a little further down, what is, I thought, the coolest idea, and it's a bit of a heavy lift for one person or one group, was I don't know if you can still hear me. My internet's a little sketchy today.
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Was to put this big these different signage options at either end of Martha Street. So one at York and one at Haggart. So almost like these big entry destination signs. Some of these might be a little too Disney World. So I know Johnny will pull us back from that, but something authentic.
Look great.
Because what I found out from Norm is that there actually was historically a huge gate there, a huge metal gate.
I was going to say, you're just going back to the way it was.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I don't propose we put the gate back, but maybe it could look like it used to be a gate or something like that. You know what I mean? I don't know, something like that, just so when there's a real sense of arrival when you walk down York and you're like, oh, cool, the brewery complex. Wow, that's awesome. So you're there. And that defines the heart of it. And of course, like Ray, obviously you're part of this, and, Monkey Club and all these other smaller businesses around the periphery. And even on Frankford, I look at as part of this whole thing, but this would be the actual historic location, because that actually used to be private, that little street, that block of Martha. So I think it just defines what used to be historically that private space. So this is something that I think, could be one of the first plans, is like, hey, what's this look like? And then you know, funding for this stuff and funding for the design work, funding for the installation. And then along with this, I guess this is like the streetscape improvements that I thought are really important for everyone who's there to be a part of. And then obviously you won't have my vacant lot to the right. That'll be a nice building that it won't look historic like in a fake way, but we're going to take some design cues from that one they tore down across the street on the iron site or whatever, the metal site. That's something that I probably would have tried to restore. But anyway, we're going to take some design cues, just a really simple brick building so that it looks like it could have been built at any time. And so I think that'll help like frame that out as well.
This concept is something that you're handling, Josh, or is this bid? Or
I would love us to all handle it together. I mean, I'm happy to contribute, you know, monetarily, but I don't think it's something we can handle alone. I think we all like, we can work together and get a grant from, okay, I thought this was perfect for, oh, who's that, that we went to for the cameras with the bid?
Ben Treaty?
Yeah, I thought this was perfect for Penn Treaty, right? Because it's like a permanent installation and it celebrates a certain historic spot. So I don't think we'll have a problem getting some kind of grant for this.
No, there's plenty of planning
Yeah.
grants even to do the concepts, Josh.
Yeah, well, right. That's what I came to understand. I mean, I had Kim do this and she's awesome, but even the planning aspect of it like really adds up. So, and we, you know, I didn't have any specific ideas beyond just something cool there, and some lighting and whatever. So I didn't want to make this huge thing though, where it's like the signs, the lights, the sidewalks, the streets going back to cobblestone, like a $4 million thing. That never happens, you know? I was like, oh, okay, well, these two signs, I don't know, what are they like? What's it like a $40,000 project? Like, we can probably get some grants and make that happen, for example.
who's doing the design work?
Right, exactly. I don't know. That's
Those
what
are
we
all
have to-
questions.
These are all good questions.
No, who
You
did?
can RFP it.
Yeah.
Oh, this was Kim Lincoln from Links and Company. And we were working with her on some other stuff. So I just asked her to whip this stuff up for a conceptual, you know, just conceptual ideas. And there's no feasibility here as far as what's actually, you know, constructible. But I mean, we did a lot of research on other signs like this. And so it seems like it's feasible as far as like what's buildable, just with some I-beams.
In your research, Josh, with other signs like this, is truck access, because I know with the, you know, all of the deliveries that you guys get, is there a certain clearance that we
There's
need to be
minimum-
keeping in mind?
Yeah, there's like minimum bridge heights that are
Okay.
well documented. And I think this just conforms to that.
Okay. Cool. You know, my operations brain, that was the first thing I thought about.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's important.
Does anybody else have any other thoughts or ideas, comments about this type of signage?
I love that sign. Okay, what type of permit would we need for that?
This would actually be, you know, we would probably work directly with the Arts Commission and those folks on this, and Streets Department. This would be a right-of-way construction, so we would need a streets right-of-way permit. We'll also need some sort of a sign permit, but it's more likely less of a permitting process and more of a Arts Commission approval process.
That shouldn't be a heavy lift, though.
No, and I think that things of this nature are exactly in line with what they are trying to accomplish. I think the fact that it has the historic angle will also please the historic commission, so that'll help. Yeah, I think that this makes all the sense in the world. And to some of Brian's questions, as far as like the design process, who would be handling this lift, all of those things, I think that that's exactly what Fishtown Co would be here for, is to handle the coordination so that all of the businesses in this area get a chance to weigh in on what that design is, and have their voices heard throughout the whole process. And then Fishtown Co would probably be the organization that applies for the funding and handles the administration of coordinating the construction for something like this.
And okay, so like all the business owners are in the vicinity, we would be on a committee or something, or how would that work? Like, how would we?
Yeah,
organize?
so what we would do for a project of this sort, we would probably continue meetings like this with like a working group, and we would release an RFP to find some sort of a designer once we had the funding earmarked to do so. And then I would send you guys, I would design that RFP with you guys, so that we know exactly what wording and narrative we want to put in there to kind of get the pool of designers that we would like to see. We would probably meet again and evaluate different proposals, and choose a direction based on there. And then once we have a designer selected, we would probably have some additional working groups with that designer to figure out the full scope of what it will look like. So it would be like a communal process the entire duration of.
Yeah,
That's
and
how I would
also
imagine.
I want to open it up, and like I don't want this just to be like Josh's sign type thing. Like if this seems cool to everybody, we should do this. It's more important to me to just work together to create there's already a lot of momentum there. Obviously, you guys have been there a long, amazingly long time, all things considered. And so I think it's a good this group seems like a good opportunity to shape what the future looks like rather than just kind of let it happen,
I
Absolutely.
know that this is outside the bid, but it kind of fits in with that whole master plan strategy that we're going with. So I didn't know if maybe that was something, that we could approach with them in terms of, look and feel, because we're going to have all these other things going on in the community too. Maybe it fits in with that design.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I agree with you, and I did make the ISA folks aware of this area, and that we're interested in planning and discussing this area as well. I think that my goal was to use that master plan, and instead of adding this as another area to that plan, using the ideas from that plan as our first exercise of using that plan to implement somewhere else. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, I think this committee would want, control of the process rather than get all grouped in with some other big, larger process with Fishtown Co. and the bid and all this other stuff. Well, not Fishtown Co. I mean, would be who we would see, but rather than get, grouped in with it. Again, I just didn't want to see it gets grouped in with some huge thing and that just delays it forever. I think how many people are there? 8 or 10 people, right? In the immediate vicinity, 12 people that are going to be on the committee we can act pretty fast, I think.
Mm-hmm. And there are,
the more we do this during construction on my end, the more I can help financially because this is usually a matching situation, right? Typically.
Yep. That was going to be my next point. I mean, some of the planning grants that Mark was talking about, those are funds that don't necessarily need as much matching resources. But once we get to implementation, or if we do decide to apply for PTSSD funding, we would definitely need to supply some sort of matching funds.
Cool. And then the other thing I was working on was, I think it seems like it'd be cool if there were some marketing efforts that were, inclusive of that were spearheaded by the brewery complex committee that included all the individual businesses. Kay, did you want to show that one little postcard thing that we started on? And again, this is just this was just sitting there from last year that Kim had helped us with. And we were trying to take some cues from some of these images to what we're going to do with that building on the corner, because we're purposely doing kind of it's not huge, but it's like a fairly large lobby area for a 3-unit building, but we wanted a lobby so we could do some graphics in there that you can see from the street. And then that's where all this other thing came in, trying to incorporate the imagery of the old brewery in with the newer plans. And again, I'll have elevations pretty soon of that new building. I think everybody will like it, I hope. There's nothing obnoxious about it. So put it that way.
Yeah, and I mean, there's also some lower hanging fruit streetscape stuff that we could tackle as well, like banners. That could be an easy kind of first step to getting some visual branding into the area, especially if, you know, we're getting a planning grant for the larger signage. That could be the immediate quick, hey, we're starting visible signal.
Yeah, is there any need, guys, for like additional bike parking and stuff like that, do you find? Mostly Johnny and Ray, I guess, would have a better idea of that.
Yeah, we have like where the bus stop is at. There's like one little section people park their bikes at.
Yeah.
You could probably fit maybe 4 bikes, but we have so many bikers, you know what I
Dude,
mean?
I'd love
So,
to have parking for 40 bikes.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea. But then all we have is the probably for like 4 bikes.
Okay.
But there are, like I said, there's so many bikers. We probably have more people biking to the bar than driving to the bar.
I'm wondering if there's a logical place right around there that we could do a bike corral.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could do one on right dead center of the street on the opposite sidewalk, that not sidewalk, but the opposite parking area. You know, like on York. Another moving part, and all you guys, everybody, I think everybody on this call probably knows, I ended up buying Norm's house over there at the end of Martha at York, and those 2 lots. I won't get into it here, but there was a crazy ownership situation with these 2 little lots, like these slivers of land that had been sold off by the redevelopment authority to the neighbors, but then the neighbor went to foreclosure, but the foreclosure didn't include the lot, and so it got sold to another person. But then come and find out 30 years later, the deeds were switched. So anyway, it's a long story, but I was able to acquire all that stuff. And the intent there is just to do some kind of residential stuff that just fits in. But I guess my point is that there's a curb cut currently, which we would be giving back. That's the intent, but we could give it back to a bike corral if that made more sense. Something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, this might be a Mark question, but do you think that it's worth having a conversation with Streets or Bicycle Coalition to get their input on what makes the most sense? Because I would love to not take away a parking space if we could.
Yeah, for sure. We don't got no parking
when
anywhere.
the time comes, I think would be to, you know, because I think there is a benefit to having some, you know, designated bicycle parking, but we also know how everybody parking is at a premium in the first place. So,
Yeah.
and they'll tell us what we're allowed to do. But
Yeah.
Right.
I might have to use that, giving that parking space back to help matters through ECNA. So anyway, I think the whole point of today is just, you guys, does everybody want to be involved with this, and does it seem valuable? And You know, as we move along, I think get a regular meeting, probably more people can fit it into their schedule and, you know, kind of talk regularly about, and again, now that everybody's thinking, like, different ideas will pop up and what does this place look like? And, you know, we know it's come a long way in 10 years. What does it look like in 10 more years? I think that's the biggest question. For me, anyway.
One of the things too, remember, and Fishtown Co can do this, Kay. I mean, depending on what the scope of what you want to do or you think is beneficial, you could go for a multimodal at that point as well. Now, I know there's matching issues because of the size, but when you're talking lights, I mean, I think you're going to need lighting there. And, you know, always, you know, I always go by when you make your list, what do you need? And then what do you want? And then, you know, make sure you get everything you need and then add on from there. So there is opportunity to do something a little bigger if you chose.
It's a good point, Mark.
One final point, and then I'll shut up. The other huge benefit of this, I think, can be maintenance funds. Because, like, I don't think they ever plowed Martha Street this year. No, I don't think once. It was insane. I didn't see a plow truck go down there.
In 20 years that I've been down there. So
no, right. So we can get some funds from the city and like earmark them because we're taking care of our own block, and then hire a snow removal company or something to just keep it clean.
typically PBC does it.
Yeah. Something. So I think the ongoing maintenance is a pretty big piece of this, of working together, I think.
Absolutely. So we are getting close to 11, and Josh just brought up a lot of great questions as far as, you know, how we're moving forward, whether this seems relevant and interesting to you guys. So feel free to jump in.
It's certainly interesting. I'm in an odd position as not a property owner, since I lease my space. But having been here for 13 years, going on 23 in a 3-block radius, I would certainly prefer to be a part of it as far as, you know, for graphics and print work, that kind of stuff. I mean, you got to pitch your own business that you're running.
Absolutely.
But you know, a lot of it, without me actually owning the bricks, a lot has to defer to what the Martins say.
Understandable.
Yeah, I spoke to Bill a lot, like I said, and I followed up to Nancy, and they seem, you know, amenable as long as nobody blocks the trucks, which makes a lot of sense to me. So if that's their bar, like that's a pretty low bar, you know, just, yeah, sounds cool, don't block the trucks, and it's all good. So I thought that was actually a pretty promising response, if that's all, you know, at the end of the day. Also, I think it would give Bill an opportunity if we can just get a little more foot traffic up to, you know, get something going in that Row House Spirits building, because I know that, I don't know the specifics of it, but it didn't quite pan out, and that's kind of in no man's land, and I think he would love to see something happen there. It's one of those things, does creating a real critical mass here help all the businesses? I always think so. I try to collaborate. I believe that. I think this is one of the most unique destinations in Philly. Like, what else is like this in town? Not much. And again, that hasn't been overdone, like to Johnny's point about, yeah, let's keep it authentic. Let's do a lot, but keep it cool, authentic, low key, you know. And that's the danger of getting, we'll have to be careful in our design process to get the right group, not a group that's designing for Center City District. You know what I mean? where they're like, oh, we have these perfect planters that whatever. No, let's do. I showed some trash cans there with flowers in it. I mean, like, you just got to keep it authentic, I think. But that's also inexpensive generally. So I think that's a pretty good thing, because I don't think we're going to have like a huge funds here. I think we can get some, but it'll frankly be probably pretty limited, but we can work with it.
And the bid can be used as a match, even with certain finalists. For the bid, we're all in because we're all about that connectivity, and it only makes our area better. And, the more traffic, more patronage, the better off we all are. And I think that's a pretty cool area you got there. So definitely should be highlighted even more. So we're in for whatever you need.
Thanks, Mark. That's really appreciate that. It's really helpful, because I'm sure we're going to need hearing Kay describe what it's going to take to get some a big sign thing up there. We're definitely is beyond my knowledge.
Yeah. So for next steps, I have some notes down here. Number one is to contact PennDOT and the other folks around the roundabout situation, and see if there's some immediate steps that we can take there to get better signage about access to Martha Street, or if there is a local access opportunity for deliveries on York. Next steps for the gateway would be to identify some potential funding opportunities for the planning side, and begin to construct a RFP that I will then present to you guys for feedback, review, and additions. Does that make sense to everybody?
Okay,
Yeah.
Getting thumbs up.
Is there a formal process to get our committee organized and get everybody, like, I don't think we need, like, is there a chair? Are there roles within the committee, or we're all just committee members? That sounds probably pretty good.
Yeah.
However it has to work. I just want to make sure that it's the structure of our group is whatever it has to be.
I think that I'm going to take the thread of emails and put it into one of my email lists so that it's easier for us to get in contact with everybody and organize our communication. But outside of that, I feel like until there's more intensive action items that need heavy coordination or particular people's expertise, I think that we could probably all just, communicate as equals and consider it all committee members.
Can we, like, adopt a vision statement or like a little paragraph of what we're trying to do with the committee, the purpose?
I think that that's a great idea.
Okay.
I'm happy to attempt to draft something and send it around to everybody for feedback.
Because that should reflect what we talked about here today.
Yep.
Because you don't want people getting, 6 months into this and then you're like, oh no, we thought we were doing this other thing and whatever. I think so. Just define that. That'll also help get all the other business owners we have something specific to say, hey, here's what's going on. Would you like to be on this committee? Or at least
Absolutely.
we'll put you on the email chain and bug you to join the calls until you maybe eventually feel like joining or not, whichever. But at least it's up to them to opt out.
Yeah, definitely. And then my other question for this group would be how often or when would you guys want to meet next to discuss these things? I mean, obviously, I need to do some work to put some things together, but besides that, are we thinking that this would be a monthly thing or less formal or less regular than that, more regular? What do you guys think?
Monthly.
I was gonna say, don't all talk at once.
Yeah,
Work.
just plan it. We'll make it work, right?
Not weekly, not weekly.
Definitely not weekly. I didn't even
Okay.
suggest that.
Yeah, no, it's probably like a monthly thing unless there's important stuff to talk about, and then and then it's a bi-monthly thing if there's nothing important to talk about.
Sounds good to me.
That's what I would think.
Yeah, I can pretty much arrange my schedule typically to accommodate whatever, so.
Cool.
Awesome. Does anybody else have anything to add? Some final thoughts for today before I let you all get back to work?
Well, I thought this meeting was about shutting down Martha Street.
And that's another thing. You're right. We didn't really touch on that. So with PBC's response, they seem like they really don't want to shut down the entire street, but I am interested in other ways to create activation, or maybe do some one-off events. I think that we need to talk to PBC a little deeper to see when their events are, to see what would make sense for us to have an event for the whole block.
But if,
Yeah, I thought they were open to pretty much anything, whether it's regular, one-off, whatever, as long as it's basically cleared with them and, you know, doesn't screw them up and probably doesn't set a precedent for us, you know, eventually closing the street permanently, because that's just not going to work for them. So that's sort of how I
Right.
took it. Again, this is just another conversations with Bill and Nancy of like, hey, that'd be cool. Yeah, let's have a block party, whatever, that type thing. So
Right.
probably I'd stick to one-off events for the time being. That'd be my thought.
Yeah, that's kind of where my focus went to as well. Is there interest in having an event?
what kind of an event?
That would be the next question. I mean, we could do, with COVID, there are still limitations as far as what can be done. We can do sidewalk sales for retail. We can do some small scale food events. With like,
Okay, just we should get George involved from Thunderbird, because I know he spoke about his flea market last year was really successful, but he thought it could even be bigger. So maybe that would be a pretty cool event. I don't know if that's a weekly thing, a monthly thing, a once type thing. That'd be pretty cool down the middle of the street. What do you think, guys? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm all about it. I was down for the block party too.
Yeah, I mean, weekends, I'm typically not doing full production, so that wouldn't affect anything for me, basically.
So
And-
stick to weekends for now. See what happens.
okay.
Well, and also, if you're talking about, Josh, you're talking about hopefully starting construction in July, I would assume you're gonna need access constantly to that.
Yeah, we'll be annoying everyone for at least the first month, because until they get the foundation in, I'm not gonna lie, it sucks because trucks are coming and going. After that, it's a lot easier once the foundation work's done, because there's no more triaxle trucks. We would just have probably a once or twice a week delivery of materials. But that's a pretty small building. I think that's gonna go up in the shell of it anyway, and you know, pretty quickly, I hope. And even if that gets pushed a little bit, the goal, I think, is to get it framed and closed in before the snow flies. But maybe that's naive of me. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how the variance process goes. Worst
Mark-
case, it's spring.
I have a permitting question. If we aren't shutting down the street at all, and they're not really issuing event permits, if we wanted to do a sidewalk sale situation, would that be a don't ask, don't tell?
Yeah,
Okay.
Here's another quick thought. That's actually, in the long term, it should probably be one way just from York up to Haggard. But anyway, it's double wide. As long as you can make that corner, a tractor trailer can get through there, even if you have some kind of event, some kind of booths or whatever on the one side of the street. I'm just putting that out there, of where it is a pretty wide street. You can take up one side and still have traffic. That's the point.
It gets tight when there's cars parked on every ounce of
Every
concrete.
sidewalk. Yeah, that's unsustainable. I know. I'm dealing with that myself. unfortunately. And that'll be a long-term probably purpose of this group as well, is like, oh my God, what do we do with parking? And we got to get them off the sidewalks, but then we're losing 6 spaces, and like that's a whole conversation. But I think this
Are
is
you putting in any parking
the
for
group to
your
have.
residential units?
What's that, Brian?
Are you putting in parking for your residential and commercial units or no?
No, there will be none. We'll be giving back that space to the public domain, and that's about it.
And about how many residential units are you planning on putting in?
There's going to be 3 apartments above that store. And then across the street where Norm's is, that's a good question. Anywhere between 2 and 4.
And the main building, the historical main building, that's you're trying to make complete commercial.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Gotcha. So there would also be, if you're putting in a restaurant that seats 150 people,
Yeah.
massive space.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's going to be a thing. So I'm not sure what can be done, but this is, again, I think this is the group to kind of spearhead all that. And if there's something, places we can find parking or whatever. Somebody mentioned like talking to the school and, having this off-site parking for the whole complex and stuff like that. But totally open to whatever works. Yeah, I don't know how it's going to pan out, to be honest, but we'll find out.
And just as an aside, guys, for whatever outdoor event that's done, be careful with the name and how you brand it. Things like block party and other things like that. Even though things are getting better during COVID, that causes alarm and causes attention that you don't need. So whatever it is, just make sure we brand it that it's a safe, socially distanced, outdoor fun thing.
Yeah, that's one good thing with having just the 2 points of entry. It is pretty easy to control the block.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, if there's appetite for it, we could do a spring, sidewalk sale thing, get Thunderbird involved, and it doesn't even have to be a big ordeal. We could just promote that the businesses are there, encourage you guys to set up outside on whatever day that is, and make that
Call it an
work.
open house, Kay, a spring open house, and let people come by and walk around, eat, drink, have fun.
Yeah, George has a killer social media presence. So if we're working with them, they'll get folks there.
We'll put Josh out with a guitar. It'll be perfect.
Yeah, no, we want them to stay, Mark. We don't want to drive them away.
I'd stay to listen, just so you know.
Put me out there I'll just bang on a drum or something. No, yeah, whatever. I'll try to do my part in all this. But again, as part of a group, and I just don't want to try and do all this branding stuff and all these streetscape things as like, my own ideas. I think it should be everybody's ideas.
Yeah. I mean, if we do want to do something in the spring, considering the roundabout construction and the headaches that's causing you guys right now, and Josh's timeline of probably starting around July, it seems like June might be the best time to do something. Am I getting consensus there?
2 months is pretty good lead time for sure.
Yeah.
Whatever you guys think it should be.
Sounds good.
Okay. So I will talk to PBC and see, and I guess Brian, Ray, you guys have a, direct communication with Nancy and Bill too. So if you guys want to chat with them as well and see what June dates don't cause a burden on them as far as just what their event schedule is, we can figure out a date and go from there.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, you have George's info? Thunderbird?
I don't know that I do.
Okay.
I have like a generic Gmail for Thunderbird, but I don't think it's his
Yeah, I'll forward it
direct.
over.
Okay,
I'll probably talk to him this week anyway.
great. That'll be great.
Again, if that seems like something if that seems what we want to do.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Can't hurt. We'll listen to what he thinks as well and his experience with doing it on the sidewalk on Frankford.
Mm-hmm. Any other final thoughts before I let everybody go? Cool. I appreciate you guys all joining today. And like I said, I got a bunch of next steps, so you'll be hearing from me via email probably later on this week with some updates.
All
Good
right.
job, Kay.
Thanks, everybody.
All right,
And in the
Tina.
meantime, any concerns that you guys have, trash collection, anything of that sort, if you have a problem, shoot me an email and I'll see what I can do about it.
Roger that.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Later. Off to print the FNA coloring books.
Ooh, that's exciting.
That's
That will be a
awesome.
fun day. Take care, guys.
Bye.